Hello, I'm Angela Wamboy, and welcome to Capital Online TV News. These are the stories making headlines. Italian Prime Minister Matteo Renzi says Italy stands firmly with Kenya as it seeks to eradicate the al-Shabaab. Renzi, who gave a public lecture at the University of Nairobi on Wednesday morning, condoled with the university students over the loss of 142 of their colleagues in the April al-Shabaab attack on Garissa University College. Italy has already offered scholarships to 25 of the students who survived, as well as offered to build the intelligence gathering capacity of Kenya's security forces. Renzi, however, says that the fight against terror is an ideological one, and universities are therefore critical in shaping the minds of the youth. The High Court has suspended the prosecution of Garissa Governor Na-thif Jama on graft charges. Justice Welding Korea says the governor, through his lawyer, has established a good case which should be heard before the DPP's orders seeking to open corruption proceedings against him. Jama's lawyer, Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi, argued that the criminal charges were brought in bad faith, as the governor does not sit in the tender committee and is also not a member of the procurement team. The judge has directed the application for judicial review be fixed for inter-party hearings on Wednesday next week. Northeastern leaders have threatened to move to court to block students from sitting for their national examinations if the education crisis in their counties is not addressed. Nominated Senator Halima Abdillah, also the vice chairperson of the Senate Education Committee, says the leaders were concerned over the fate of the students who have not had adequate learning for the past 3 months since teachers refused to go back following the Garissa terror attack. Security in northern Kenya has deteriorated since the Garissa University terror attack that left 148 people dead and many more wounded. And in other news, Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary Amina Mohamed says Kenyan filmmakers should showcase Kenyan culture in the stories they tell. Amina says Kenya's diverse cultures risk being eroded in favor of Western culture, which is promoted by the permeation of foreign films and programming. Jude Munene, a Kenyan filmmaker and executive director of the Pan-African Federation of Filmmakers, says the reason Nigeria's movie industry is so vibrant is because they make their movies for themselves. They also both agree that training is necessary in order to better the quality of African productions and to make them more competitive on the global stage. They were speaking at the conclusion of a 2-day filmmaker workshop at the African Union offices in Nairobi that brought together filmmakers from 16 African countries to review the status of the industry.
As we train our people, build our capacity, we must also inspire and encourage them to ensure that they're able and can compete with the best in the world.
So for me, I think it's every region and its filmmakers. What drives a filmmaker? And again, you find that, like in Nigeria, that was about telling their stories, and even people complained that the stories are almost, like the same all the time. But you see, that's what the audience wanted to watch. The beautiful thing about the Nigerian films was that they made the films for themselves. While, for example, in Eastern Africa, I think we make films for other people, other audiences first, and we forget that even Hollywood never makes films for us. What we get actually is after they've shown their films to everybody else, then those films can come to Africa. So if you're making films, you start with your own audience. And this is what Africa has failed to do for a long, long time.
In international news, Mexican drug lord Joaquin El Chapo Guzman paced nervously in his cell before bending down behind his shower's short wall and vanishing. This is according to newly released security footage of his daring jailbreak. While the video released late Tuesday shows Guzman walking back and forth 3 times before crouching into the shower with his prison garb on, National Security Commissioner Monte Alejandro Rubido said it was normal behavior for prison inmates. The small hole on the shower floor that Guzman slipped into late Saturday is not seen in the closed-circuit camera, which is monitored 24 hours a day. It also does not show the moment he takes off a monitoring bracelet. A surveillance camera was on the top corner of a wall outside the cell and another inside pointing towards the shower, but authorities said they had 2 blind spots to protect the inmate's privacy. In the world of business, Kenya has signed a 34 billion shilling financing agreement with 2 Italian banks for the construction of a dam in Kuresoi. The signing of the agreement at State House, Nairobi, was witnessed by President Uhuru Kenyatta and Italian Prime Minister Matteo Renzi after they had held bilateral talks. And finally, taking a look at the world of sports. Malkia strikers are agitating to play at the Africa Games as opposed to the FIVB World Cup, where the federation prefers to send them. And that's a wrap-up of the day's top stories. I've been your host, Angela Wamboi. For more on these and other stories, log on to www.capitalfm.co.ke/TV. And make sure that you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Capital FM Kenya.